We're not politically correct, we just have common sense.
Unscripted, unfiltered, unfaltering. Show of Support's Hunt for Heroes offers tributes and true stories of remarkable courage.
That these terrorists could come in your bedroom, they'd kill you, your wife, and your kids. And that's what these men are fighting to protect us from, these murdering idiots. And they're taking them out so that we don't have to deal with them over here.
Show of Support started it all just after the shock and awe bound the nation together. Now, years of footage portraying wounded veterans, deer stands, and standing ovations. Hunt for Heroes, that started as one man's way to say thanks, is now a series that many say is way overdue.
This is something I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
It's just a raw emotion.
It's been like a dream. It really has.
We still have 40,000 injured troops. It's going to take a while to get around all of them, but there's no quitting. It'll never stop as long as I'm breathing.
If in fact it is your time to be called before God, you typically won't know it. Sometimes you will, and these are the hardest of times. When the blood pours from your nose and down your throat, clogging it, causing you to spit and gag. You heave for breath in the smoke and dust. Your equipment seems to suffocate you. You wipe the salty sweat and grime from your eyes, only to realize it's blood, either yours or that of your enemy. You would stand, but you can't move your legs. You grasp the open gaping wounds in your body, trying to not to pass out from the pain. You feel the anger, thinking of those loved ones you will never see again, and losing your life infuriates your soul. You rage to get to your feet and grab for a weapon, any weapon, regardless of your race, culture, or religion. You want to die standing, fighting, like a warrior, an American, so others won't have to. For those looking for a definition, this is the price of freedom. Well, when you go into a battle like this and you see so many men get wounded, the odds are so against you, you kind of have to accept the fact that you're probably going to be hurt or killed. And once you do that, it changes you, but it's also, it's a big pill to swallow. So yeah, realizing that you're probably getting ready to do something where there is a very real high probability that you're going to be injured or killed, it scares you.
Major Rusty Bradley, United States Army Special Forces.
I think all too many times people use words like honor and integrity, freedom, but they don't understand really what those costs are. Those costs come from the men who experience the travesties and the anguish of war, and their sacrifices are made by ordinary men who live and endure extraordinary things. I had been trying to call in some close air support and provide some suppressing fire from the vehicle that I was on when the gunner that's in the turret said he was running low on ammo. So I ran to the ditch to grab some ammunition. When I did, either an RPG or recoilless rifle exploded pretty much right behind my left leg. Tore up my knee, tore up my shoulder, extensive hearing damage. It wasn't so severe that I had to be medevaced off the battlefield. And while I was trying to crawl back to my truck, the best that I can remember is some sort of PKM machine gun shot me in the back, and the plate stopped around, but it landed on the lower left-hand side of the plate and drove the plate corner into my spine, so it fractured 2 vertebrae in the spine. So I got blown up and shot within the course of a minute.
Jerry Johnston and Rusty Bradley go back several years to a Show of Support hunt in 2007. Now, several years later, Rusty needs some R&R after his latest round of surgeries. And Terry's brought him to my place down in South Texas. I met Rusty previously, but it was before something called the Lines of Kandahar.
The rutted dirt roads reeked of sewage. Piles of garbage, and some several feet deep, ran along the compound walls of the entire city. The dark, hidden alleyways and streets made me nervous, considering the prevalence of suicide bombers in Kandahar City. We knew all too well how suicide bombers operated. They hid in the black corners, behind walls, and in traffic-congested streets and attacked like cowards, killing indiscriminately. To them, killing dozens of innocent people just to wound one U.S. soldier was acceptable.
The Lines of Kandahar is a gripping account of one of the bloodiest, fiercest battles ever recorded in the war in Afghanistan. 11 days of hell, and Rusty was taken to the brink of death.
I mean, something like this leaves you with a lot of baggage. But I think it inspires you to know that there are heroes out there that you'll never meet, you'll never see them, you'll pass them in the grocery store, but they have, will, and can do everything every day for the greatest country in the world.
While I took Terry to a blind nearby, guide Matt Jewett knows a spot where a big buck has been spotted several times. But now it's late in the season, way past the rut. So there's no real reason a buck like that has to ever leave the thick brush.
We couldn't believe it. It was late January, 82 degrees, and we were in short sleeves, and it was warm. That very same afternoon, about 500 meters from our deer stand, was Terry Johnston and Jerry Johnston. And both of them were in the same blind, and we knew that obviously there was going to be some stiff competition.
We call this the pipeline right-of-way. And as it turns out, a huge buck steps out from the brush. It didn't take much coaxing to get Terry to get his rifle in position. This buck's got points sticking out everywhere. And he's an old buck. Only thing is, with all the other deer standing, Terry's watching for a clear shot, hoping the buck doesn't hit the brush before he can shoot. I think he's wishing we could hear Rusty's rifle go off behind us in the distance. He's the kind of guy who worries about things like etiquette and manners. But as in love and war, a big buck is a big buck. The heck with manners. Attaboy.
All right, he went down. He's down, Jerry.
It's the first time Terry and I have actually hunted together, and there's almost nobody else I would rather have kill a buck like this one on my place.
Matt's cell phone started buzzing, and Mr. Johnston said, hey, can you guys come down here for a minute? Terry just bagged a deer. And I was talking with Matt in the blind, and I said, we might as well go down there because they wouldn't call if it was just a deer.
I love you like a brother, Rusty, but not that much.
To see Terry down there and for him to be as excited as the soldiers that he hunts with, I was happy for him.
Congratulations, buddy.
Because he really, really loves helping soldiers, but he loves deer hunting. And the opportunity to come to South Texas and to hunt with two patriots, in my mind, two legends.
And he's got that beautiful gray coat.
I can scratch that one off the bucket list.
Decorated combat veteran and author Rusty Bradley is at a loss for words when a big buck drifts through the brush. Stay with us.
I'm privileged enough, I think, to have been one of the few people that's been affected by Terry Johnston. If you don't know Terry Johnston, then you've missed out on something in life. Terry Johnston is probably the quiet version of a modern John Wayne. He's bigger than life, says what he means, mean what he says. He's quiet, he's humble.
Back at the lodge, Rusty Bradley joins Terry Johnston for a photo session. It's a great buck, and it just whets Rusty's appetite for whitetails all over again. But this is not the first time they've shared the stage together.
In 2007, I was privileged enough to be invited to attend the Hunt for Heroes that was put on by Show of Support. And it made such an impact on me that I wanted to come back the next year and present Terry with something that was absolutely as unique as he is. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I came here because I wanted to give Midland, Odessa, West Texas, and everyone in this room and in this community a personal thank you from not just my community, but the soldiers who are sitting out here in front of you. I wanted those people in the audience to know what Terry was doing from the soldiers that he had affected. I'm here to say thank you. There's one man here who will forever hold a special place in my heart, and I am not alone. Mr. Jerry Johnston correctly called him the role model for patriots across the country, and I couldn't agree more. He's a bear of a man with a heart of pure gold. You may have never served in our military, but you have served this country. There are very few people that can honestly say that. No man who contributes this much should ever go unrecognized, and for that, it is a time-honored military tradition that those who contribute so much be acknowledged for their contributions. Therefore, I'm humbled to stand here and want to present you with something as unique as you are.
Rusty was about to present Terry Johnston with an incredible gift.
It was a rifle that I had taken from a Taliban soldier that I had killed. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Texas, for all you've done and for all you continue to do for our wounded warriors. May God bless you. May God keep you. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. Dio Presso Liber. I got to hug a man who I think is a real American hero. People need to meet him if they haven't.
That was several years ago, and Rusty Bradley makes no apologies for the gift he presented to Terry, or the gift he made to the world when he took out the trash and helped a Taliban idiot find an early grave.
Well, this morning we got into the stand, obviously, before the sun came up, a little bit before 6, and it was really chilly. It was in the low 40s. You know, 2 days ago I was at work in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and today I'm sitting on a ranch in South Texas on the Double J.
It was Rusty's turn on the Double J, and this chilly January morning, his guide, Matt Jewett, spots something moving in the brush.
You know, you get to see that first glimpse of a deer that's already moving around down in front of you, and you know, your heart starts beating, and you can see it's probably a pretty good sized deer, and as it gets lighter and lighter, you find yourself getting tunnel vision on the animal because, you know, those G times are getting longer and longer as the sun comes up, and you realize that you're probably one of your happiest places in your life. When I saw that 10-pointer come through the brush, I knew that if he stopped for just a moment, that was my deer. It was a very helpless feeling to watch him move across that opening and know that out of respect for deer hunting, for the animal, that I would ever attempt to pick up my rifle and take a snapshot on an animal like that and thought that you might end up wounding it and losing it. So other than be regretting of the fact that I didn't get the chance to kill him, I got the opportunity to see with my own eyes a beautiful, massive deer. And if I couldn't take him, maybe eventually somebody else can. He cleared the opening, crossed the road, and was gone. At that point, Matt said, it looks like he's going over there to get water and come back over in our direction. So we decided that we were going to wait for the right deer. For that deer, I was willing to wait and take a chance. About that time, here comes a big, wide 8-point buck coming out of the brush. Matt said, that's a good deer. If you want to, you can take that deer, but you're gonna have to understand that if you take a shot on that deer, you're gonna lose any opportunity for that 10-pointer. So once I saw that 8-pointer, my dilemma was, do I play poker and maybe the big 10-pointer will come back, or do I take the 8-pointer? So I decided to wait. Once it came out of the brush, it was moving into an area where we didn't have a window open yet. The whole time I was trying to open the window, I felt like my heart was gonna jump out of my chest because this deer was maybe 40 yards away, and the doe was acting very skittish and very alert. And I just knew that if she heard or saw us moving that window, that 8-pointer was gone. We finally got the window open, and I'm staring at that 8-pointer, and you know what? I really want a chance to get that 10-pointer, so I'm gonna wait. Not more than 2 or 3 minutes after we had gotten the window finally open without scaring them off, the 8-pointer skirted the edge line and disappeared in the brush. I watched the last 2 deer of the morning walk off and fade into the field in the brush, and we didn't see another deer the whole morning. It was probably one of the most peaceful moments I've had in a long time. That was as big as getting a big buck.
Rusty's hunt comes down to the wire when Hunt for Heroes continues. Stay with us.
Well, we got here on Friday and the days are starting to run together, so I'm really at the point right now where I'm anxious to get a deer.
Decorated combat veteran and author Rusty Bradley wants badly to kill a deer here on the Double J. But it's not as easy as it looks. People talk about how unpredictable whitetail bucks can be during the rut, but it's no cakewalk to pattern them after the rut. They're run down and running out of motivation. But that's not to say you can't find the results of the rut lying in the brush.
Well, right after this morning's hunt, I went with Mr. Johnston and Mr. Johnson to scout out some areas, and after we had left, we noticed off to the right-hand side, about 15 feet inside the wood line, was the remaining carcass of a massive deer. On one antler alone, it had 9 points. To see an animal that probably comes in close to 20 points, and the absolute massive size of them, the genetics, how well they're raised, how well they're cared for, their absolute mass, the beauty of their coats. It's just unbelievably impressive to know that there are animals that quality and caliber in South Texas.
18-pointer.
That was about the time Terry Johnson had to leave.
Well, the night when we headed out for the last hunt, I was really starting to get concerned that we weren't going to be able to see a deer that we really wanted to take. The weather was perfect. Whether it's in life or whether it's in hunting, you know, time is the one thing you can't replace, and I was really starting to feel the pressure that we might not be able to see the deer that we wanted. It was funny because we were sitting there and we'd probably only been there about 15 or 20 minutes, and I heard Matt out of the corner say, "Freeze, there's a buck right there."
Rusty, right there on the right.
When Matt first told me not to move, I knew instinctively that there was something that he was paying very close attention to. And I looked down, and right there in the bottom right-hand corner of one of the windows for view was just an incredible deer that had just come from behind us, right out in front of us, out of nowhere. And my heart was just absolutely beating out of my chest. And this was the deer, and there was no time to mess around.
Get your gun, get it out the window. Hold it, hold it. Hold it, be still. Don't move. He's looking right at us.
As soon as the deer put his head down and turned away from us, I got the rifle up and slowly started to push it into position and get a good point of aim. I knew that this was going to be the deer. That was the point at which my heart started to sink, because if he made it to the thicket and didn't come out, I wasn't going to be able to get this deer. As it turns out, he came from behind the thicket, and it could not have been more textbook perfect. Matt bleated. And as soon as he did, the deer went completely full profile, stopped, raised his head full extension, and he said,
"Squeeze."
And the only thing I heard was the word,
"Squeeze."
Oh, give me
Nicely
some.
done, man. Thank you. That's
Oh, that was
awesome.
great,
That's
man.
worth waiting on.
Give me some. Oh, it was great.
Well, I was wondering if I was going to have to throw Matt out of the way to get down the stairs. That's how exciting it is when you get the opportunity to come to South Texas and be able to experience something like this.
10-point, baby. Here you go, man. That's great. Dark South Texas chocolate, baby.
Good mass. That's a great deer. Great deer.
Matt, what a fantastic guide. What an incredible person. I mean, I hope one day to have the passion for deer hunting that Matt does. The first time you get to see an animal that big and appreciate it, it brings a sense of exhilaration and pride, almost like when you're a kid. And that's one of the things that I think really fueled me and intrigued me most about getting back into the outdoors. And when you've been injured or wounded and you've experienced things that you just want to become part of something again. And you get that excitement to be alive and not something that's traumatic or life or death. And it's not really a hobby anymore, it's a passion. You get the opportunity to see an animal like that, and it was absolutely massive. I think it was a little over 200 pounds.
He's a big, brushy South Texas 10, my man. That's what we come here for.
Strong he is.
This little hole in the back right here. I mean, he's fine, man. He's a great deer.
Moments like this are why they invented cell phones. It was one of the best phone calls I ever made. Hey boss, guess what?
You did it.
I did.
What'd you get?
Great big old 10-point. When Jerry Johnston drives up and you're deer hunting, I think people know that you're in the presence of the deer hunting legend. I didn't really know what to think. I was actually extremely humbled. He got out of the truck and he said, "You stuck it out. I'm very proud of you." Hey, thank you. And I thought, you know, the only thing that would have probably been better is if John Wayne would have told me, "Son, that's good shooting."
It was certainly a much bigger honor for me and for Matt to be in the presence of Special Forces Major Rusty Bradley. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Moments like these are indeed hunting's finest hour.